Every level of high ticket closer explained. If you actually want to make more money as a high ticket closer, how do you plan on doing that if you don't know the differences between the way a sales rep operates at your current level of income and the way a sales rep operates at a higher level of income? You might have thought that it's just getting better at the things that you're already doing and your income will go up. Well, having been in the industry for 5 years now, trained Alex Hormozi's old gym launch sales team, built my income to over $100,000 a month in commissions, and taken 4 sales reps inside my mastermind to all earning over $100,000 a month in commissions too, I can tell you, you would be sorely mistaken. Not only would you not make the money that you want to make, you would waste a massive amount of time if that's the way you approach it. There is fundamental differences between the way a sales rep closes at 5K and the way a sales rep closes at 20. Completely different changes at 50 and also further changes at $100,000 a month in commissions. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through those different levels. There are 7 of them. I'm then going to share with you how to implement this, because just knowing the knowledge isn't going to change your income. You actually need a way to go out and action that knowledge. And then finally, I'm going to share with you 2 critical mistakes that you could run into when going about executing this. So without any further ado, let's crack in. There are 7 different levels to the way a sales rep can operate. So what are those different levels? Number 1, you have a sales rep that is just reading a script. They are literally looking at the words on their screen, with one side of the screen, the words of their script. The other side of their screen is the video Zoom call, and they're just reading the words. That's level 1. That is probably going to get you to an income no more than $5,000 a month in commissions. So how do you get to the next level of income? $10,000 a month in commissions. Well, if you want to get to $10,000 a month, at the very least, you have to fucking memorize the script. You can't be reading the scripted questions off the screen, off your piece of paper in front of you. You have to have actually memorized them. Now, that's not much greater, hence why we're only at level 2. What about level 3? When you get to level 3, your income can go somewhere up to around about 15,000. At this point, we're getting into some ranges. So when I say 15, it could be 10, 12, 15, 17, somewhere around about 15,000. At this level, you do what I call scripts plus. Scripts with a little asterisk and a little plus next to it. And what that means is you've got a script that you're following. You've memorized it now, but you're still following pre-planned questions and a pre-order for those questions. But then what you're doing, as you're going through that script, you have a few moments where you deviate. You ask a probing question, you ask a clarifying question, just a couple of little ad-libs, as would be called in drama. So that is the next level, $15,000 a month. Then we have level 4. Somewhere at this point, around about 20,000, maybe even 30,000. I have seen the odd sales rep that is following this operating system and has got themselves up to $30,000. Could be for 1 month, could be for a couple of months, could be more because they're on a great offer and the offer's carrying a lot of them. But just to be clear, somewhere around about $20,000 to $30,000 at a push at level 4. At level 4, you've got your scripts plus, so you're following a script, then you're going on your ad libs, plus you have these word tracks, these memorized additional things that you bolt on. I'm going to bolt on an analogy. I'm going to bolt on some pre-handling of objections. I'm going to bolt on some objection handling word tracks at the end of the call. And so you've now got this hodgepodge of a script, but then I'm going off the script and then I'm plugging back in some random ad libs that I've memorized, some word tracks. That is level 4. Now we get into level 5. But before we get into level 5, this is the turning point. All of those previous operating systems were adding different things in. First of all, you got a script. Then we add in the memorization of the script. Then we add in the memorization of how to probe and how to clarify and how to do some ad libs. Oh, I heard them say that, so I know I need to ask this probing question. Then we add in the memorization of some word tracks. This is all addition. And if you understand and you study anything about true success, true excellence, true mastery, you will come to one big takeaway. Excellence is not a process of addition. Excellence is a process of subtraction, taking things away, not adding things in. So at level 5, we start to focus on subtraction. We're not looking for another thing to add in. We're actually looking to reduce, to simplify. Now, without going too far down that rabbit hole, why is that so beneficial? Because the more you reduce, the more you actually have flexibility. You have freedom. You're not cramming yourself into this rigid, okay, I've got all these metaphors to put in, all these objection handling tracks to run. Now it's like, okay, well, actually, I'm just going to relax and have some more space. And the person who has the most flexibility is the person that actually wins. It's not the person that has the most rigidity and the most things that they're going to execute. It's actually the person that has that flexibility, which is why Bruce Lee said, be like water. Be like water. Philosophy, whether you look at business philosophy, medieval philosophy, martial arts philosophy, any type of philosophy, gives you the answers that you're looking for. And so that answer is, what is the pivotal turning point as a sales rep to break into completely different category of income? And so level 5. At this point, you could probably get to $40,000 a month in commission. What is the different operating system? The operating system is you now move into frameworks. A framework could be something like, I have a section of a sales call, which is a problem awareness section. I have another section of a sales call, which is future pacing or goal setting. Those are frameworks. Normally, someone is following a script that has been plugged into the framework. But what you can actually do is you can unwind the plugins and you can just go back to the framework, which is, okay, on a sales call, I've got to start here, then go here, then go here, then go here, then go here. But how I do that in between, I'm going to leave that to be more natural. The more natural you are as a salesperson, you're going to build more trust. You're going to have more authenticity. So that is frameworks. A key way to know, aside from if you're making $40,000 a month in commissions or thereabouts, that you're running a framework operating system is if someone were to listen to your call. If someone else listened to your call, a sales rep, and they were able to go, I don't know exactly what they're asking, but I know which section they're in. They're in the situation section, or they're in the future pacing section. If someone could actually tell that, then but they don't know what question you're about to say next, likely you're in the frameworks methodology, okay? So that's level 5. I will be crystal clear. Because this is the moment where you have to let go of control, this is what sheds 99% of closers from ever breaking into $40,000 a month in commissions. Fundamentally, it has now become an inner game. An inner game because most people cannot let go of control. They need everything laid out crystal clear for them because otherwise they're afraid. They're so scared of, well, what if I run out of things to say? I'll tell you exactly what to say. But then the thing that was holding you up has now become a crutch, which is what my mentor told me when I first got started in sales. And I started trying to memorize some of the questions that he would say. And he said, you thought that was helping you, but now it's actually holding your income back. The moment he told me that, and I committed to dropping any type of structured frameworks, that's when my income exploded. And my very second month as a high ticket closer, I hit $20,000 a month in commissions. Fast forward 15 months later, so 17 months total, and I earned over $100,000 a month in commissions. So I did that very quick. And I did that very quickly because I understood these different levels. I was guided through these different levels by a mentor, and I was committed to actually doing what it took to ascend through those levels. I wasn't going to hold on, as they say, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always had. I wasn't willing to do that. I wanted more. I wanted the money. I wanted the freedom. I wanted the choices. I wanted the lifestyle. I wanted the sales mastery, and I wanted to serve more people. So I made the changes, and boom, I passed through level 5. So what about level 6? Level 6 is now where instead of having the frameworks, you fall even deeper into, I guess, the esoteric, and you now just have philosophies. So what's the difference between a framework and a philosophy? A framework is you have blank section. A philosophy is, what is the goal, but I don't even have milestones to get to the goal. I simply have a North Star. These are the 2 or 3 big things that I need to uncover on a sales call. And so long as I do that, then the call would close. So inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind, I share the 4 philosophies that you need to have on a sales call. First philosophy, the prospect must have a burning problem. How do you get there? This is the point. It's have a conversation, ask someone questions, be curious, lean in, lean out, let them come to you, listen to what they're saying, read between the lines, but just keep digging and digging until you find, is there a burning problem? That is the first philosophy. The second philosophy is there a strong desire and a commitment to solving that problem, obviously from the prospect? Number 3 is, are they willing to admit to us, you the closer, they can't solve it on their own? And the 4th one is, do they trust you at a certain level to help them solve it? Now, if you listen to those, burning problem, strong desire and commitment to solving it, admitting to themselves and to you they can't solve it on their own, and also saying, I trust you at a certain level to be the people to help me solve it. What else do you need to make a sale? And so when you then reverse engineer all the way back to this very, very high level understanding of what makes a sale, if you only follow those guiding lights, those guiding stars, you have infinite flexibility on a sales call. And so that is level 6. And at that level, you can get your income up to $70,000 a month in commissions. So now you might be wondering, well, how does it go any higher than that? The thing is, at level 6, what a sales rep could be doing, like sales reps that have been in my mastermind, got to $70,000 a month in commissions, and then wanted to go even further, they're kind of mentally or literally physically ticking off those 4 things as they go. Meaning, even though they've reversed all the way back to just philosophy, there's no scripts, there's no frameworks, now they're just running on philosophy, it is still logical. They are still ticking off those things as they go, mentally or literally. Now, why is that an issue? Because you're still not fully present and also fully detached. You are still in some areas wanting a little bit of logical structure and logical control, but obviously it's a far cry different to having every question laid out, with every tonality laid out, with every order of everything laid out. It's very, very different. It's night and day difference, but there's still a fraction of a difference. And for certain prospects, very high level prospects, they'll feel it. Also, for very high level closers, they will feel it in themselves. You know what? I'm 9 out of 10 steps or 90% of the way there to true, authentic mastery of sales, but there's still this one tiny piece missing. And that one tiny piece is they're ticking things off. They're ticking off the 4 philosophies. So what is level 7? Level 7 is where in your mind, on your piece of paper, you are completely silent. There is nothing that I'm trying to tick off. I'm just having a conversation. So how then do I know if I've got what I needed, if I'm not thinking, okay, looking for a burning problem, let me check if that's there, is that there? Okay, bang, I can tick that off. If you're not doing that, how do you have any type of control or reliability or consistency in your sales calls? At the highest level of selling, you go off feeling. And you're like, really? Like feeling? Yes, I can feel on a sales call, wow, that person's just expressed to me the feeling of being in a situation that's a burning problem. That person has just expressed to me, and we've together felt the feeling of desire and commitment to solving this problem. That person has just shared with me the feeling of angst, which is, I need help. I can't solve this on my own. And this is the key thing. If you've heard some of the science about communication, you already know, I don't remember the percentages exactly, a very large percentage of communication is not verbal. It's actually the tonality, and even higher than that is the sentiment, kind of the energy behind it. So you've got the words, then you've got the tonality, and then you've got actually the intention, the way you make someone feel when you communicate. So if the highest level of communication is nothing to do with the words, within reason, and I'm exaggerating a little bit here, do you even need to listen to the words? If you are truly a master at sales and you've done the inner work, you can listen, it's not even listen, you can feel the feelings that are being transmitted and passed between you and the prospect. You can feel the energy. You know when people say you walk in a room and you just get like a weird feeling? What is that? Well, what if you knew through experience the feelings that you're supposed to feel and register as a high ticket closer on a sales call? If you knew what those feelings were, when you feel it, you're like, oh, I know what that is. And I know that's a good sign. You're not going to tick it off mentally anymore, because it's almost like your physiology, your nerves inside your body just know you're on the right line. Like I said, with walking in a room where something doesn't feel right, you walk in a room and you know this doesn't feel right. If you train your body and your spirit, you can actually walk into a room, a Zoom room or an audio phone call with a prospect, and you can feel when things are right. We are doing the right things. We're having the right conversation. Not because I'm analyzing the words and I'm writing down every word they say. I can just feel it. That is the highest level of sales mastery. Now, at that level, you will make $100,000 a month in commissions. So long as you're on a good offer, you'll make $100,000 a month in commissions. I've done it. I've helped 4 members of my mastermind do it, all within less than 16 months. So within less than 16 months of having the mentorship from me, which is quicker than I was able to do it, they got to $100,000. One of them was at $500 a month in commissions when she joined the mastermind. She was literally 2 weeks into sales, her first ever sales call. Fast forward 16 months, and she went from $500 a month to over 100,000. I think it was 113,000 a month in commissions. We had another member 2 months into high ticket sales. He was at, I think it was 7,800. In fact, there's another video, Jacob, on my YouTube. You're welcome to go check it out. Whole interview with him. He got up to, I believe, 111,000. These are high ticket closers that had no reason to be able to ascend all of these levels through natural gift or years in the industry. They just had a blueprint. They had a blueprint from myself and from my underground mentor that have already gone through these different levels. And so now let's get into how you actually implement these changes. Now, why do we need to go into implementation? You understand the different levels. Surely you just make the changes. Well, if you've been in sales for more than a couple of weeks, you know that people don't buy on logic. People don't make changes based on logic. They make changes based on emotions. They make changes based on feelings. So as I walk you through those different 7 levels, do you feel much? Probably not. You might feel a little bit about, yeah, I don't like the way I'm selling, and I certainly don't like the fact that I'm not making $100,000 a month, but you probably don't have this deep emotional connection to making the ascension through the different levels. So I'm going to change that for you by walking you through those levels as a kind of story or as an analogy. So at level 1, I want you to imagine that you're someone that's planning a road trip. You are someone that's going on a road trip and you are deciding what is the different directions that you're going to need to have a great road trip. So at level 1 and also level 2, the metaphor is that the person is planning the road trip by literally getting a piece of paper and they are writing every single turn that they're going to take on the road trip. Take this highway for blank miles, then turn left on this junction, then turn right on this junction. And they're literally writing everything out. Well, how do you feel about taking a road trip where you've literally planned every single change of direction? Probably it's not going to be that enjoyable. You're not going to be that present. So at level 1 and at level 2, it's like the person going on a road trip and writing out before they go on the trip every single turn they're going to take. What about level 3 and level 4? That is the equivalent of you've planned out on your piece of paper the road trip. You've got all the different junctions, all the different roads, all the different turnings that you're going to take. But inside all of those different things, you add in a few ad libs when you actually go on the road trip. For example, you go on this road, you turn left, you turn right, you go straight, you go east, whatever. And then you decide, you know what, let's stop for some food. And you stop for some food for 20 minutes. Then after a few more turns, you say, let's stop for gas. After a few more turns, you say, you know what, let's go off-roading for a little bit and we'll do 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes on some country roads. That is the person that's at level 3 where they've got scripts plus a little bit of probing and clarifying, or they've got scripts plus, and then they've got word tracks and memorized analogies and memorized metaphors. So that is the person that they're still following a very rigid plan for the road trip, but as they go on the road trip, they have a couple of little random moments. What about the next level? So now we get into level 5, which is where we've gone into that breakthrough moment. So playing out the metaphor, what is that breakthrough moment as if it was someone going on a road trip? Well, this is the person that instead of writing out any directions, all they write out is a few key things that they want to pass through. So they might say, take blank route because that's the scenic route they want to go and head north. Then they say, stop for some food. They say, stop for some gas. They say, take some back roads. And then they might say, go and do blank experience. And so instead of having all of the turns, all of the roads, all of the how many miles that they're taking, they've just got a bullet point list. That person that has the bullet point list is like the person that is no longer following scripted questions, but they're now following, okay, I've got the situation section of my call, I've got this section of my call, I've got future pacing section of my call, and so on and so forth. They've got these kind of bullet point lists. Now we get into $70,000 a month and then ultimately $100,000 a month. And so the fourth and final way to kind of look at the metaphor is instead of someone going on a road trip and the way they've planned the road trip is having some bullet points of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. They literally just get in the car and say, I'm going to just go have a great road trip. Now, for some of you, which we're going to get into how this is one of the key mistakes in a minute, that is overwhelming. You're going to just get in a car and go on a road trip without any plan? Well, if you've ever been on a road trip, those are the best ones. And that's the point. The best ones, the ones that provide the most value, the ones that are memorable, the ones that are fun, the ones that are different, the ones that you're actually in flow. You're present. You're living the moment. They're the ones that you just had an incentive. You know what? I'm going to go on a road trip. And off you went. And you only had a North Star, which was have a great road trip. Now, at level 6 that I said before, where someone has a philosophy, but they're ticking off the philosophies, how does this connect to the metaphor? Well, if you just went on a road trip and your only kind of North Star was have a great trip, what does great mean? Inside of you, there is still some kind of variables for what great means. For example, it could mean, and I wrote a few down here, it could mean adventure. It could mean connection. It could mean learning for you. And it could mean maybe something else that's individual to different people. Point being, even though you've just said, I'm just going to go on a road trip, there is still some type of inner framework, inner philosophy, inner guiding principles that you're going to follow as you go on the road trip. You know what? I'm going to head this direction and go and see if there's some adventure. Oh, wow, look, there's a little town there. I like connection. I'm going to go and stop and have a drink and meet some new people and meet people around the world. So you still have these kind of philosophies and these kind of individual criteria. So then the final level in the analogy, as a salesperson, level 7, where you're just going on feeling, and your income, $100,000 a month in commissions. And if you were going on a road trip, this is where you literally, as they say, let the wind take you. And the only thing that you're judging is if you saw a nice looking town and you're on your road trip and you drove into the town and you walk into a bar, a daytime bar, and you feel the vibe and you're like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Then you just get up and leave. Or if you are feeling it, you might stay there for hours. You might stay there the whole day. And so the point is, you're only going off the feeling of, is this right for me? Is this wrong for me? Is this pure? Is this unpure? Is this good? Is this bad? You're no longer even going on your own philosophies of, well, a great trip for me, which was level 6, would have been adventure, would have been connection. Because what ends up happening if you have those philosophies that you're still kind of ticking off, which is what I said sales reps get stuck on at level 6, is you end up with a road trip where you're like 25% is going to be adventure, 25% is going to be connection, 25% is going to be learning, and 25% is going to be whatever else. And so what is it going to be that will be adventurous? You don't know. It's going to be random. But where it truly reaches the highest level of authenticity is you go on a road trip, and randomly on that road trip, it just ends up being all about connection. For example, on day 1 of the road trip, you stop somewhere to get gas and you meet this cool guy if you're a guy or a cool girl if you're a girl, and you hit it off and you're like, hey, by the way, I'm going on a road trip. I know this is crazy. We just met, but do you want to come with me? And you end up spending the whole 7 days of the road trip with that person. And so you didn't have this like philosophy of, well, I can't do that because then that's more than 25% of my philosophy on one thing, which was connection. Does this make sense? So when you're just going on what feels right in the moment, some stuff can become longer, some stuff can become shorter, some stuff happens, and some stuff doesn't happen. And in sales, to bring this back to a high-ticket sale, there are many calls where I and my students, we never talk about goals. And for you, you might be like, hang on, how can you sell someone if you didn't future pace? You didn't do like the future pacing and then the connections of if they lost the future. And no, you don't have to. And this is the point. If you're actually just going on feeling, which is this a real heart-to-heart conversation with the prospect, you either feel it or you don't. And if you don't feel it on a sales call, you move the conversation to explore other areas from curiosity and also from non-judgment. You're not trying to make something out of the call that maybe isn't there. And you just keep exploring and just going with the flow. And you either land on stuff that feels right, and that is a sale that's being consummated in those connections and those feelings, or you don't. But you don't have anything that you're following. That is true sales mastery. Every prospect is different. And the difference fundamentally between level 1 and level 7 is at level 7, you have an infinite level of flexibility and adaptability to meet the prospect where they're at. Down at level 1, you're over here, the prospect's over here, and you're trying to pull the prospect to fit into your framework. You can't meet them where they're at. Now, as you go through the levels to make this visual for you, at level 1, you can't move at all. So you're like, I need to get the prospect to come to me. At level 2, you can move a little bit, and so the prospect has to do most of the work and meet you most of the way there. And as you go through the different levels, there comes a point where you can just meet the prospect exactly where they're at and have the conversation and the way of the conversation that they need to have, and you are fully flexible and fluid in executing that conversation. So that is the differences using an analogy. So now, to get you to execute this, do you want to go on a road trip where you've planned out every single thing to immense detail? Do you think that's going to give you the most value from the road trip? And I do that in quotes, meaning the value of a road trip is the memories and the experience and the living in the moment. The value on a sales call for you is, did you make commissions? This month, are you going to make 5K? Or are you going to make 100K? You're going to make $100,000. The value of the differences in the road trips is the same as the value, the money that you are or aren't going to make as a high ticket closer based on your methodology. And so if you want to be making more money, ask yourself, how would you plan a road trip to have the best road trip, to make the most money, to have the most fun, to make selling the most easy for you, and also to make selling a process of you becoming more as a person. For you to become more as a person, if you go on a road trip, you're going to plan out every detail. No. The person that's actually going to become the most transformed version of themselves on a road trip is the one that just gets on a plane, hires a car, and drives. If you've seen the movie Forrest Gump, it's like he just starts running. He's like, I'm running because I felt like running, right? And so that is where we're now going to transition into the mistakes that you can make when executing this. And there's two different mistakes. So the first mistake is the dichotomy of intelligence. If you are the type of person, and I'm not criticizing you for this, that believes the person at level 1 who pre-planned the entire road trip, every turn, was a more intelligent person because they were organized or analytical, and actually the person at the level 7 or on the road trip that just got in a car, they're stupid, they're dumb, they're reckless, they're careless. That is the dichotomy of intelligence. Actual intelligence is not from planning what's going to happen out there. It's from becoming more in here. The person that is the most intelligent is the person that can just be. The person that can be in this moment and things are just going to flow. The person that's the least intelligent is actually the one that is up here. And that's the dichotomy of intelligence. We think intelligence is up here, but intelligence is in here, in your gut, in your spirit, in your soul, in your essence. And this is why internal mastery work is critical to master sales. Because if you don't do this, you will keep thinking intelligence is up here. And the more you think it's up here, the more you're blocked, the more any trip that you ever go on is going to be this pre-planned, cucked trip. And you're not going to have that great of a time. There's not going to be any spontaneity. There's not going to be any serendipitous moments. There's not going to be any, as they call it, synchronicities, where the universe is just creating things how it's meant to happen. And you are not going to do much on that road trip of becoming more as a person. Now, let me ask you this directly. When you've gone on recent trips, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, do you pre-plan everything? Have you been on a trip where you just decided to go somewhere and see what happened? It was the most transformative experience of your life in regards to traveling. So why don't you implement that same way of thinking, same way of operating into sales? Now, to be clear, I'm not just saying take your script, rip it up, throw it away. Then you'll just get lost on a sales call. Just like the person that doesn't have any street smarts that just gets on a plane, they'll get mugged. You have to actually become the person so that you then can go on the trip, and the trip then accentuates that becoming. So that's why you have to actually do the training to be able to let go of the script, to be able to go on the spontaneous road trip. Okay, so the first mistake that you can run into is this constant thought of, well, I'm more intelligent for wanting my sales script, and I'm more intelligent for doing all my role play training where I memorize my analogies, I memorize my metaphors, I memorize my objection handling. No, you're actually less intelligent. You're actually less. And if you aren't ready to accept that lesson, that's perfectly fine. But I won't be able to help you make $100,000 a month in commissions, because the first thing you have to go through is the dichotomy of intelligence. Then we get into the second and final mistake, which is the paradox of personality. So I've gone through these different ways, level 1, using the metaphor again, pre-plans everything, has a script, memorizes every question, follows it to a T. And then you have the other person at the end that just goes on a trip and just goes with their gut feeling. I saw that, I went there, it felt good, I did more of it. I saw that, I went there, it felt bad, I did less of it. And that's just how they operate the road trip. It's just following their feelings and tuning in. And so the paradox of personality is realizing neither of those is right or wrong. It is, how do you want to operate? And my whole mastermind, my whole brand is not for 99% of salespeople. 99% of salespeople don't want to do the inner work. They don't want to become more as a person. They don't even care enough about making $100,000 a month in commissions because they're willing to just play small. They're willing to just settle for an extra bedroom in their apartment and they upgraded to a 2-bed instead of a 1-bed. The one trip that they go on a year. I want it all. I want the watches. I want the house. I want to retire my parents. I want to take my parents on trips. I want to donate to charity. I want to do it all. And I'm here to tell you, $10, $20, $30, $40,000 a month is not enough money. The sales trainers that are telling you, oh, I'll help you get to $10, $15, $20,000 a month, quite frankly, they're taking you on a wild goose chase because the things that you want aren't going to be accomplished at that minimal level of income. So the paradox of personality is there is no right or wrong. But to be clear, if you want to be the person that rigidly writes everything out and plans everything and follows a sales script to a T, you will have a certain lifestyle. If you want to have that control and that, call it organization, which is actually just fear and scarcity that is forcing you to have to plan everything so you feel safe, that's okay. That's your choice. But if you want the life of abundance, of choices, of options, you have to be the person that is abundant on the inside. And the person that's abundant on the inside can let go. And they're just having a heart-to-heart conversation with their prospect. They're not following any type of script. They're not even following any bullet points. They're literally just talking and just curious and wanting to dig in, wanting to go deeper, wanting to have a no bullshit conversation, wanting to get to the truth. And that's it. They're just going on feeling of what's authentic, what's right, what's the truth. Like they say in the Bible, the truth will set you free. And so the paradox of personality is realizing you just have to know who you want to be. There is no right. I'm not here saying level 7 is the right way and being this type of person that just books a flight and goes randomly on a road trip with no plan is the right way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are different ways to operate and there are different consequences if you choose a certain way of operating over another. Now, the final thing I'm going to end with is a story. I was the person that was so OCD in everything. I had to plan everything. Every single thing in my life was organized to a T. And I was poor. I was unhappy. I had no meaning. I had no fulfillment. I had no purpose in my life. I wasn't taking care of my parents. I wasn't going on any of the trips I wanted to go on. I didn't live in a nice house. I lived in a shitty one-room studio because even though I was so organized on the outside, my room was all tidy, my agenda was all laid out perfectly by the 30-minute time slot, I wasn't abundant on the inside. And so I share that to say, if you are the type of person that is still holding on to a certain personality, if it's making you happy, keep going. But if deep inside of you it's not working for you, do you want to keep doing something that is keeping you poor, keeping you unhappy, keeping you unfulfilled, and keeping you from living the life of your dreams? I had to accept the hard truth. The person I thought I wasn't going to get me the life that I wanted to live. And through mentorship, my mentor taught me all of these things, this rigidity, this need for control, this need for OCD and perfectionism is actually holding you back and it's keeping you stuck. Being able to let go and go from up here in your head to into your body and to feel and to actually tune in and be fully present, that is the key that will unlock the doorway to the life of your dreams. I'm living the life of my dreams. And I have high ticket closers in my mastermind that have gone from their income, $500 a month, $7,000 a month, to over $100,000 a month. And they are now living their life of their dreams. So if you want to make the changes to live the life of your dreams, stop being intelligent, stop holding on to a certain personality way that you say, I'm just that way, and ascend through these different levels. When you ascend through these different levels, your life will completely transform. But the most important thing is that your life is transforming because you are transforming. The secret to being able to actually do the level 7 complete freedom and letting go on a sales call is two things. Number one, the internal mastery. Actually making those changes in who you are as a person is what allows you to let go. And the second thing is, instead of following pre-planned questions or tonality or orders or frameworks, you just have ways of thinking. You have values. You have what's called mental models. You understand people, you understand the world, and you understand yourself. Ways of being able to see how to think about those three different realms. If you want help to install the mental models and the internal mastery that will allow you to move away from rigid scripts, pre-planning out your entire road trip of life, and quite frankly, not enjoying it, neither getting the life experience that you wanted to get out of the road trip, and you want to actually make those changes to go to level 7, to be able to have a real, authentic conversation, to tune into your prospects. If you are one of the few people that is willing to completely transform from the ground up who you are as a person, to be able to completely transform your external life, click the link below this video. There is a link to join my mastermind. I can help you, like I've helped myself and other members in the mastermind, go through these different levels. Those are the 7 levels of high ticket closer. And if you want to make the changes to go to level 7, I'll see you on the inside.